rules as we go into our second round. A great take gives you 400 points. A good take gives you 200 points. An okay take gives you 100. And a bad take, you come home empty-handed again with 0 points. Everything gets double. We had some pretty surprising news today regarding Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans, who decided to part ways. The Titans firing Mike Vrabel today after 5 seasons with the franchise, despite the fact that just 2 seasons ago, he won the Coach of the Year award. But Tennessee feels like they're going into kind of a rebuild. There's a little bit of a power struggle between Vrabel, the new general manager, just really didn't see eye to eye, so both sides decided to part ways. And obviously, there's given how low the coaching, potential coaching possibilities were for some of these teams. You add Mike Vrabel to the mix, and that's a very attractive name on the market. So I'll start with you, Tim. I think I know where you're going with this, but I'll ask you anyway. Who is the most, or where rather, is the most likely destination for Coach Vrabel?
I think the most likely destination is imprinted right on my chest. I think the New England Patriots are the team where he should go. And I think it all starts off, too, with just his relationship. And, again, we all know Bill is just this, stats and, type of guy. He's not really a relationship builder, but Mike Vrabel is. Mike Vrabel not only is, I think, 48 years old. He's young. He's played the game. He can relate to players, and you see it, the way he interacts with the guys. I mean, even the guys that he's coached and either plays against or retired, it's unbelievable. And the way that I think the thought all stems from when he got inducted to the Patriots Hall of Fame this past season. And during the Bills-Patriots game, he spoke at halftime and said, quote, "I've been a lot of places. This is a special place with great leadership, great fans, great direction, great coaching. Enjoy it. It's not like this everywhere." I think that is a massive tell, not only to the fans to say, hey, listen, appreciate Bill, appreciate what you had. It's not like this everywhere. But also, I think it also goes back to Robert Kraft and the Krafts and how much he respects and appreciates that relationship he has. He sat with them in the box during that game. I can't imagine what was going through the minds of the Titans owners seeing their head coach, granted he inducted as a player, but seeing their head coach in the booth with Robert and Jonathan. I mean, I think at the end of the day, he should go back to New England. Granted, it might be a little bit of a rebuild project, but that relationship he has with the Krafts, they are going to give him carte blanche. I am almost certain of that, because not only they want him, but because he's a part of the system. He's a part of what the Krafts know, dating back to Bill Parcells. When they brought in the guy they didn't know, and Pete Carroll, they didn't like him. They didn't get along with him, and that's why they brought in Bill Belichick, because they had the relationship with him dating back to Parcells. So at the end of the day, it's got to be New England.
Yeah, it definitely feels like, again, like I said earlier, the writing's a little bit on the wall. One thing I will say, though, that's at least interesting is the fact that some of the criticism with Belichick has been the fact that he's been the de facto general manager. He hasn't really been willing to give up the power. Is Mike Vrabel going to be the type of guy to say, hey, I'll let y'all hire a general manager. I'll just focus on the football side? That's something that could come into conflict. That might be part of the reason he left, or not, I shouldn't say left Tennessee, why they decided to part ways, him and the Tennessee Titans. But nonetheless, the fit makes sense. And I had no idea about that quote from his Hall of Fame induction. That is definitely, it feels like a direct shot at the Tennessee Titans front office when that occurred. So there you go. So, Tim, I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to give you a good take for this segment. I thought you did a solid job pointing out the points. Obviously, Vrabel's history in New England. And again, too, like you mentioned his youth, you mentioned his vigor, and he's a culture builder. We saw Tennessee, the players loved him, but that tends to be the case with former players. We see with Dan Campbell, Antonio Pierce, guys like that. Mike Vrabel's taking it to a different level. So he definitely commands the respect of a locker room. So it is potentially a good thing for New England. To you, Dylan, where do you think is the most likely destination for Coach Mike Vrabel?
As much as I would love for him to be with the Patriots, I think that Bill will rather step down as GM and stay as strictly a head coach before he goes anywhere else. I know Kraft is definitely very loyal, and obviously Bill has given him many championships and many reasons to keep him as the head coach. I mean, but, as we're talking about Vrabel, and there's a topic about Vrabel, I look at what he did with Tennessee. He always had a stout defense, but not so great offense. So I think he will flip it and, oh no. Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you. You're back and froze
Hello?
on again. We can hear you.
What was the last part? Sorry, I'm so mad my connection.
You were talking. No, you were talking. We've heard you the whole time. No, you were talking about. You said you would flip it.
Okay, yeah. So I think he'll go with the Chargers because he was very bulimic with offense when it comes to Tennessee. And you can't deny that the Chargers have such an explosive offense, and most of their work is on defense. And since Vrabel specializes in defense, I think he'll be more than capable to be able to turn that unit around, mess around with whatever money he's got to do to be able to bring in the talent to make the Chargers an actual competitive team that can compete for the long haul. So, and also not to forget, they're in LA, a beautiful location. Everything you could possibly want is there, and they'll be giving him as much money as Vrabel could possibly want. So I think all signs point to him being on the Chargers.
Yeah, that's definitely a great fit. And any time that there's a head coach opening with a great quarterback, or at least a very talented quarterback, those are always the most attractive because it's the hardest position to get right. You can draft defensive backs, wide receivers, linebackers, even offensive linemen if you pick them pretty early on in the draft. But once you get that great quarterback, you don't want to lose them. And obviously the Los Angeles Chargers very much have that. So overall across the board, Dylan, I'm going to give you a great take. I think you did a good job bringing up solid points regarding the fit there with Vrabel and what he's kind of going to look for. Because really, if you think about it, and then no disrespect, obviously, to you or to Tim, but it feels like the Patriots are almost a worse version of what the Titans are right now. Would he want to inherit a situation that's almost identical to what he had? Just the players aren't quite as good. Maybe he wants a clean slate. We'll see. But Dylan, I'm going to give you a great take. Mike Guido, finally with you. Where's Mike Vrabel's next destination going to be? Where's it most likely to be?
Well, first of all, I think that, one of the points that none of us have touched on yet is the weirdness of this whole thing. I mean, there were 2 years really of digression, I guess you could say, in Tennessee, where you had back-to-back losing seasons, but I don't know that anybody ever attributed that to Mike Vrabel's coaching job. I think a lot of people said, listen, it's instability at quarterback. They had traded A.J. Brown, right? Like, this was a very weird situation. Coming from an understandable place, I guess Tennessee might want to go with a more offensive-minded head coach, maybe in the future with Will Levis coming up and all of that stuff. That's just speculation, but it's something that's been running through my head all day. But as for where he's going to go, I honestly think that I'm with Tim here. I think it's likely to be New England because, truth be told, I think Tim is right where it just feels like it's the end for Bill Belichick in New England. I don't know if he goes somewhere else. I don't know if he retires. I don't know what it is, but it almost feels like it. And Tim might be able to say something about this as well, but this has almost like an insider trading feel to it, right? Because earlier in the season, what you heard from the Tennessee Titan front office was, we expect Mike Vrabel to be here for a long time. They were all in on Mike Vrabel like 2 months ago. And how quickly things changed to now where he's fired. It almost sounds like maybe Mike Vrabel has an inside track of, listen, it's like when Doc Rivers wanted to go coach the Clippers, right? The Celtics didn't want to get rid of him, but Doc was like, listen, this is where I want to go. So let's focus on getting you there. So that's kind of where this feels for me. I understand what you're saying, Bryson. It kind of feels like this is a worse situation for him to go to. But again, I think Mike Vrabel is one of these guys where he can kind of flip the culture. He's a good mix of trying of keeping what Bill Belichick has instilled in that organization for a
10
long
seconds,
time,
Mike.
And kind of, I guess, revamping it in a younger and tougher sense, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, no, it does. And obviously that they kind of need, like, it feels like a little bit of Belichick. Like there comes a point in time where the message wears thin. Like that's often why Pete Carroll's been so much better with young teams than veteran teams, because eventually the messaging gets old after a while. And listen, it's quite uncommon. That's putting it mildly to have a coach there for as long as, obviously, as Belichick's been there. It's almost unheard of in today's NFL. You have to go back to Don Shula, Tom Landry, George Howe. Like, these are the only guys that have had coaching careers with one team consecutively as long as Belichick Belichick has. So I think he made some good points. And Mike, I'm going to wait, hang on. Let me make sure I get the point total right real quick. Okay, Mike GRYD, I'm going to give you a good take once again for this segment. That the Doc Rivers thing actually does make sense. I could see that being a similar sort of comparison in that regard, but we'll see what happens. Looks like we got a comment here by Barry Grant Jr. Let's see what he has to say, despite the fact he's not on the show. The best thing that happened to Vrabel is getting fired by the Titans. Man ran out of there like a man getting caught sleeping with someone's wife, LOL. He will be sought out like crazy. There's no question about it. Harbaugh is kind of an unknown quantity. We don't know if he's going to go to the NFL for certain. So that means right now Vrabel's the hottest commodity on the coaching market. Obviously, Ben Johnson, guys like that. So we'll see what happens. Belichick, we'll see if he's available sooner rather than later. But Patriots and Chargers, at least to me, make the most sense to this point. Watch out for Washington as well. I could see that as a potential landing destination for him as well.